point for me that Canada will seize the opportunities in the green transition. And so much of that seizing of opportunities is going to happen here in Calgary, is going to happen here in Alberta. When I tabled the budget last week, one of the things that I emphasized was that the green transition is here. The world economy, our trading partners, they have decided that their economies are going to go green. And this is a huge, huge transformation. It is the biggest transformation of the global economy since the Industrial Revolution itself. We have a unique opportunity here in Canada and here in Alberta to be leaders in that green transition. And I've seen the evidence just in the past hour here today.
Now, it's not just government printing money like it's going out of style and spending like there's no tomorrow, driving up inflation rates. It's so much more. It's supply issues on the housing market. The housing market's being pressured by inflated immigration targets that are now making it hard for young Canadians to get into their first homes. It's a carbon tax and then a hike on the carbon tax on top of that, making the cost of groceries and food and basically everything that travels by a truck or a train or a plane even more expensive to the consumer. That same tax is also crushing the family trying to fill up their car on the way to soccer practice these days. And if all of that were not enough, there's liberal price fixing on essential foodstuffs that will ultimately hurt the poor the most. Look at this from Blacklock's just today. Food prices were up 9% compared to the same time last year. And yet a federal agency, the Canadian Dairy Commission, last February 1st raised wholesale milk prices by 8.4%. The wholesale cost of butter went up 12.5%. The commission stockpiled butter and cheese to maintain prices. The Agriculture Minister's office, in a separate briefing note titled "The Milk Price Increase for Producers," acknowledged federal regulators approved higher costs despite the worst inflation in 39 years. They don't care. They just don't care. They've done this to you, and they're hell-bent on making it worse because who needs cheese when you can, I guess, just eat the bugs? And the media, they don't seem to care either. They're supposed to hold truth to power, but if you can't make ends meet, well, here's someone who works for the CBC, their personal finance expert, in fact, telling you what to do. Take a listen.
Shelter and hydro in combination should be about 30% of your income. And that is much higher right now, especially in cities like Toronto, Vancouver, Calgary, where rents are much higher. One way that you can mitigate that is by speaking to your employer about getting a raise. With inflation, the way that it is going, it is completely reasonable right now, especially in this tight labor market, to go to your employer and say, I need you to bump my wage because it's becoming impossible for me to still survive in the city that I was hired in. And if that doesn't work, looking for another job, especially if you've got skills that are in demand, will often give you the bump that you need in order to afford that apartment and that rent that goes with it.
I can hear a whole bunch of people at home going, so my boss will say no.
Yeah, and that's a fair point.
Guys, it's obviously just that simple. Just get a better job, ask for a raise. And frankly, it's no wonder these people who exist in the subsidized, insulated bubble of the CBC think this way. In April, we reported that the CBC was on track to pay out $12 million in pay raises over the course of 2022. But Blacklock's again, today they have a higher number, $30 million in pay raises at the CBC. So yeah, I guess if you can't make ends meet, you can just ask for a raise that you don't deserve if you work at the CBC, and you'll probably get it. But in the real world, for the people who pay those inflated salaries at the CBC, well, it just doesn't work that way, sister.
What you just saw was an excerpt from my nightly show, The Ezra Levant Show. Every weekday, I do a monologue. Usually it's about half an hour. Then I interview an interesting guest, and then we read my hate mail or my fan mail, whichever is more fun. It's only available behind a paywall, though. That's how we pay our bills here at Rebel News. We don't take a dime from Justin Trudeau. But the good news is it's only $8 a month, about half the price of Netflix. And in addition to my nightly show, You also get weekly shows from 4 other friends here at Rebel News. So you're getting 36 shows a month just for $8. I think it's worth it. And even if you're not quite sure, do it anyways, because we rely on viewers like you to keep us free and independent. I promise you I'll never take a dime from Trudeau. Just go to rebelnewsplus.com and click subscribe. Thanks.